Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Darren, I've got a treat for you guys today. That is because I'm playing the recently released Castlevania Symphony of the Night static recompilation, the Xbox Live Arcade version. And when I say recently released, I mean the repo was published about 12 hours ago as of the recording of this voiceover, and you're probably going to watch it about 20 hours past its release. And honestly, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is and will always remain one of the best video games ever made, not just in the Metroidvania genre, but literally, in my opinion, in any genre you could possibly come up with. From start to finish, this game is absolutely perfect in my opinion and has never been surpassed. And even if the Xbox Live Arcade version does remove stuff like the actual FMV cut sequences, it is still a very good release. And just so you know, I am scaling this so we can get the borders out of the way and give you a closer look at this recomp right now. And honestly, this has been one of the most requested recomps. I don't think many people were asking for the Xbox Live version specifically, but it will be a fun time while the Symphony of the Night decompilation project finishes up. Because right now I think that's hovering a little bit around 60%, and it's definitely showing a lot of promise, but it'll probably still take some time to get here. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But right off the top, let's talk about the 2,000-pound elephant in the room, and that is the fact that there are many different ways to play Symphony of the Night, and honestly, basically almost all of them are going to be a fun time. Something like Duck Station will emulate the original PlayStation 1 version perfectly, and even though there's not much 3D, will enhance the overall couple polygons you see here and there. But this isn't just about another way to play Symphony of the Night, it's going to allow for future modability, because now with the static recompilation on the PowerPC side of things, it just is easier than going in and trying to hex edit a disk image to get all those modifications out, because a lot of people want to mod Symphony of the Night and play around with it, and this will definitely ease that transition into being able to do so more effectively, which is exactly the same thing that something like the PlayStation 1 decompilation and potential PC port in the future will do as well. And that really is kind of the really exciting part about a static recomp of Symphony of the Night. Even the Xbox Live Arcade Edition, it's just going to allow for more fun stuff in the future. So think of this not only as a static recomp of one of the best games ever made, but also now a platform to be able to go in and kind of make the game whatever you want when modders come and decide that they want to do something with it. And the developer on this one, going by the name of Birabito, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, but of course there's not phonetic spellings on GitHub, has the repo live, and I will leave a link in the description below. And before you ask, because I'd like to let everyone know, there is no instance of Cloud contributing to this program in any of the GitHub contributor notes or any of the code, so it seems like it's done 100% by human hands, or in this instance 100% by unhuman hands, just for a pun for death being on screen. And I will still never forget the first time I played Symphony of the Night. I always grew up enjoying the Castlevania games on NES and Super Nintendo, and when this was coming out, I thought to myself, well, it looks a little bit different, but I should definitely pick it up as a kid and see how good it is. And I played this game at least once every single year. And some of those things, when the Xbox Live Arcade version came out, I bought it there as well to play it, just to see the differences, even though I still had my PlayStation 1 disc, as well as my Sega Saturn import copy on my game shelf as well. I probably own like 5 or 6 different versions of this game, and really, there isn't a quote-unquote bad version out there to play. They are all still Symphony of the Night, and they're all still amazing in their own right. But as far as the Xbox Live Arcade version differences, it is a very faithful version of Symphony of the Night. The two things that are going to be different is you're losing the FMV cut sequences, and the audio quality might be perceivably slightly lower. Also, you have the actual key to go into the Xbox Live Arcade menu, which I hit more than once, screwing up, thinking it is going to be the pause button. And that's just because the audio quality here being slightly lower was a result of Xbox Live Arcade policies and how big downloadable games could be, because the internet wasn't all that great back when this came out. But honestly, I'm pretty sure you'll see something like better quality audio modded in very shortly, and really, unless you play this game dozens upon dozens of times, you might not actually even hear the overall differences, and that is definitely going to be positive. But just think of it this way, now that there is a static recomp of any version of Symphony of the Night out there, it's going to allow for modders to make it into their own platform, and that is definitely going to be exciting, because as many hacks and other all mods as we have for Symphony of the Night, we actually don't have as many as I would have ever thought. Let's do the first 2 soundtrack samples, and I'll be right back with a lot more information. So the audio soundtrack might be overall slightly muffled, but that would be an easy fix because if you just go into the Xbox Live Arcade overall file structure, there is actual files in there. Even note on this one, you're going to be using the one file set to actually get it to run, and then people go in and just basically repackage it with higher quality audio for the sound effects and for the soundtrack, and then just have those be ingested into the static recomp at runtime. So it's one of those things I would highly expect that's going to be one of the first mods you see. And as far as what's going to come to this and when it's going to come, I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. That is up to the community to decide what it is they want to make and when they want to make it, but I would highly imagine that this is something that people will definitely be looking at. Now, as far as the performance, as far as the control input latency and everything else that makes a game fun to play or not fun to play, there really isn't anything here that I could point to and say I was having any sort of issue with. I didn't see any graphical glitches, I didn't feel any latency in the controls. It just kind of felt like sitting down and playing Symphony of the Night like you would on any other platform. Now, of course, I have not gone through this and gone to like 214 or whatever percentage is considered an actual complete run without using massive glitches, but as far as I can play through so far, and I have got a few hours into this outside of just showing you the intro to the game, there hasn't been any issues I've encountered. The game will save, it will load up its save, nothing really there to be a progress blocker whatsoever. All of the items are where they're supposed to be, and everything else just feels again like playing Symphony of the Night, and that is definitely promising. Now, there might be a bug here, and I'm sure as more people find out about this and the community starts playing it and testing it, including people who know the game like the back of their hand, maybe there might be some stray pixel here or there, or some item that has a slightly weird sprite. We're just going to have to wait and find out about that one. And honestly, that is the hard part about games that are this massive and complex. There are so many different things to check and so many different items and areas to explore that it really is probably maddening to try to figure out if there are any bugs in a build before it's released. But as far as my time with it, I haven't been able to find a single thing that would point me in the direction of saying it needs an update, at least with what I've experienced. That is a very good first release as far as the version 1.0 is concerned. I think it's at version 1.0.2 at this point in time, and it's got flea men in it. They jump exactly how they should, and honestly they were quite kind to me today because there is some RNG in their movement patterns, and they will absolutely screw you over in certain instances. And this is the original PlayStation 1 version of the game, basically running on Xbox 360 and now being statically recompiled. And if again that isn't too familiar to you, what that means is the PowerPC code that would run on Xbox 360 at runtime is recompiled to a new code that can inherently and always be run by a modern processor x86 instruction set, and that definitely is a good thing. But one more soundtrack example so you can hear a little bit more of the audio quality. I'll be right back with just a bit more. I even wonder, as far as the overall bitrate of the audio is concerned, if I didn't indicate to people who didn't know this game from start to finish and played it dozens of times would even be able to tell that it was slightly lower. It's one of those things. It seems weird to think that the Xbox 360 era was still the era where somebody like Microsoft would control the overall size of downloads to make sure they didn't take too long, but that's really what the internet was back then. If you lived in a major city, you probably had some decent high-speed internet, but if you didn't, you probably had something like maybe 10 megabits per second down, and that would be considered decent back then. So it totally makes sense from a historical standpoint why they would limit the overall file size of these downloads, even if it doesn't make much sense today. But this is definitely an awesome project. It is really fun to see, and I'm sure a lot more things will come for it. And because the decomp and then potential PC port after is definitely still not going to be releasing, at least in the next couple months, I would imagine, it is great to have something like this here. And like I always like to say on videos, more than one option is always good. We see it on the N64 side of things, where we have recomps as well as PC ports or source ports of a lot of the biggest games, and Castlevania Symphony of the Night is every bit as big, and in my opinion slightly bigger than some of the the biggest N64 recomps and source ports, so why not have at least 2 versions of it when we're said and done? Hell, I'll take 4 versions, we can kind of just decide which one we love the most at the end. But Symphony of the Night as a static recomp is an amazing project, and it really does kind of offer some promise of the future. But like any sort of could it happen scenario, we don't know what's going to happen, so maybe we'll get 100 mods with this thing, maybe we'll get 10, maybe we'll get 2. Every single project like this kind of lives its own life depending on how much the community adopts, so we're going to have to wait and see exactly what happens there. But I always love asking this question on the channel: if you could snap your fingers right now and make one game show up as a perfect static recomp on something like PC, which one would it be? Because we just got Deadly Premonition, my vote honestly has been completely taken up from there. So I guess maybe Beautiful Katamari, the Katamari exclusive for 360, would be my next vote. But short of that, we are done. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And again, if you want to play this one, the GitHub repo is in the link below with instructions on how to set it up. Bye-bye.